This is Industry Relations, a podcast at the intersection of real estate and technology from an insider's perspective. Sponsored by Cotality. Stay tuned to learn more with Rob Hahn and Greg Robertson.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Industry Relations with Rob and Greg. This is your co-host, the notorious Rob, and as always, my amazing co-host, the fabulous Greg Robertson.
Peace.
I think my intro was probably a bit somber, because
Well, there's a bit of that going around, Rob.
and we've kind of talked about it a little bit in the pre-show. That I don't know if this is an episode either of us want to do.
Right.
But I feel like, after what just happened last week, there's really nothing, like, we almost have to address it, And of course, we're recording this on Monday the 15th. So, obviously we're talking about the assassination of Charlie Kirk and the fallout. And of course, the fallout, it has hit our industry as well because the real estate industry happens to be in the United States of America. So that which affects the nation, that which affects the people is going to affect us. You and I are both painfully aware that we are not a political podcast. We're not a, social, cultural commentary podcast. It's really not what we do. But at the same time, it seems bizarre for us to not at least address it. And start talking about, I don't know, blueprint or interest rate cuts or something. It just seems, it seems even faker than for us to not at least address it, right? So, I suppose, I don't even know if this is a disclaimer. I don't know what this is. This is more an acknowledgement of the fact that our listeners do not tune in because they want to hear our opinions about hot button political topics. Get that. Get that you guys aren't huge fans of if you talk about movies or something other than real estate. Get that as well. And
but I will say this, Rob. I think what people do tune into is that I think, although we don't really say it out loud, I think they get a hint of what you're leaning towards as far as politically and what I lean towards politically.
I don't think it's that much of a hint. I think it's explicit.
And that the fact that we can have discussions,
absolutely,
and conversations where we both might differ on that, but we can still have. I think you and I are pretty good at having civil discussions on these things, and I think that is something definitely people tune in for.
Yeah, we try to model that. I think for our audience as well. But in any event, so we're going to relate this to real estate as well because we are in the industry we are in, and we have the sort of the roles and the stature that we have. But please don't, assume that it means that we're not thinking about sort of the country as a whole. It's just, we're trying to address our sort of corner of it. With that said, I mean, I guess I'll start off by saying, you probably know that I do a post every anniversary of 9/11 because, I have a real personal sort of connection to it. I think I could rightfully say I'm a victim of 9/11 in a, real indirect way. But this year, man, I just couldn't. The death of Kirk has really hit me hard, and over the last several days, I think I've seen a lot of people come out and say, I don't know why, but this really impacts me. And they're like, right. I don't know him. He's not a friend. Like I'm not, like none of those things. And yet it has really impacted us. So that's kind of where my psychological, spiritual, mental state has been.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
So I don't, I don't think if prior to this, if you put up a list of faces and then asked me to match a name, that I could even know who that was.
Right.
I probably at some point saw a reel or a short, in some feed I had of him talking to somebody, but I really didn't understand or I did not really follow anything that, he was doing or saying or whatever. But, whereas before I could definitely pick out a Joe Rogan. I could definitely pick out a Ben Shapiro. I could definitely pick out, those kind of names, but I could not pick out that name. I mean,
Yeah.
so my question to you is like, I mean, were you an avid reader of his or video or anything like that? No. Okay.
No, and so Charlie Kirk is it's a conservative activist, or was. He's Turning Point USA. Is the organization he began. But I want to say like his specialty, his shtick, if you will, was he would do this like going to college campuses and debating people.
That was kind of like a Ben Shapiro thing too, right?
It was a Ben Shapiro thing. There are a number of these conservatives who've done that. Steven Crowder used to do Change My Mind. Ben Shapiro would also go debate people. I think the difference was like there are a couple of things that are different. And again, because I'm not a college student, right?
Right.
And quite frankly, I'm not all that interested in like the culture war. So I didn't listen to his podcast. I saw the little clips, when they show up on social media, right? The other people would clip and him arguing with, somebody about abortion or, gay marriage or whatever.
Right.
And, Charlie Kirk is like pretty well known to be a pretty devout Christian, So a lot of his stuff was about like Jesus and Christ loves you. And I'm like, as a very, very bad Christian, like I get it, but it's not content for me, right?
Right.
My content tends to be a lot darker, a lot more history oriented. I like the Mongol, hordes. That's kind of my content, right? Or like really bizarre theories about ancient civilizations, that sort of thing. So yeah, I'm not a fan. I'm not like a member of, I'm none of those things, and yet it really impacted me. So, but let me ask you, like, did it impact you at all? What was your initial sort of reaction, when you found out about it? To your point, you can't pick him out of a lineup.
No, I mean, the fact that somebody, got killed is horrible. And the way a young person, he was a young person to me. I'm getting older now, so that's crazy. The way he was, I mean, these school shootings, I mean, are just crazy, right? I mean, I don't know if this exactly qualifies as, but it was on a school and he got shot there, right?
True.
I mean, there were, I think I wouldn't say a real, but another school shooting at the same time that happened.
I think so.
Somewhere else, right? So, but no, it was just a horrible thing to happen to a person who is. It seemed like, and again, I didn't really realize this till later, that was known for like trying to add a reasonable, not comfortable, but conversational, of being that kind of a dude, right?
Yeah.
So I think
it was very civil. Civil debate,
That's like a shocking thing to me, and so no, a bad thing, right? But there's this is like there's so many things that have happened. I mean, does this go like who was that dude that like killed the former governor of what is it, Minnesota or something? Her and her father or her.
No, there were two state legislators in Minnesota who were murdered, who were assassinated.
Right. I don't know why. Some of these things. It's hard to like. These are all freaking travesties, but I think because this guy was just so well known and had a lot of followers, and it was really kind of towards young people, this is taking a bigger precedent than it did. There's a list of other people, a list of other things that have happened out there, right?
Right.
But you can't gauge what the zeitgeist is. For whatever reason, this has reached that level of zeitgeist where it's been a bigger deal than some horrible other things that have happened, leading up to this, right? I mean, so.
Right.
I don't know. Why do you think it's like resonated more than some of these other heinous things?
I don't know. Like I said, I've been struggling with it myself, for a few days. Right. And I think the best that I could come up with is something like this. Number one, he's a young guy. Right?
Yeah, that's what I was saying too. Yeah.
He's 31. He's a father. 2 little kids. Right. Beautiful family. Everything to live for. And he's not a politician. Like, when it happened, when I heard about it and I was really impacted by it, I started thinking, like, Trump was probably an inch away from being murdered, being assassinated.
Oh yeah, half an inch probably.
half an
yeah.
inch, whatever, just that miraculous turn of the head. And I was thinking, like, if Trump had actually not turned his head and was assassinated, right, would it have hit me this hard? And I think I could say it would not, right? Even though it would have been devastating, it would have been awful, and it might have sparked a civil war or whatever. Like, I don't know that I personally would have been like, I can't believe they took out Trump. Like, if anything, it would have been more like, they finally succeeded, like, because we do have a tradition in the country, right? If you run for president, like, like that's why we have the Secret Service.
Right. But
Like,
I mean, so is a distinction that Trump was a politician and
Right.
Charlie Kirk is not. But I mean, he had his own party, right?
No.
What'd
It
you
was just
call
a political organization. So
Well,
he's
hold
involved
on.
in
You said
politics.
yeah. It was he's political,
Right, he's political.
right?
Absolutely.
So they're both Trump and him are political.
Right, but he's not a politician like running for office. So I wasn't alive, but the closest analog I could think of was MLK,
Okay. Yeah.
right? Because he also was very influential, very political,
Wasn't running for anything.
but wasn't running for anything, was not a politician. And he also got killed, for kind of what he was saying and his ideas, right? So that's one.
That's probably a better analogy I've heard.
Right.
Yeah.
So this again, even the two Minnesota, state reps who were killed, right? They were state reps. Like, what I mean? They were in positions.
They're in
of
the
political
game,
power, right?
so to speak, right?
So to
they're-
speak.
They're
Whereas
in the arena of that.
not even because you could say Charlie Kirk was in the arena.
Okay.
Right. I mean, he was a big influence in getting Trump elected. Like, there's no question about it, right? It's just he himself is not in a position of power, right? He's not a government official, right? And there's something about you're in a position of power, you're a government official, that makes it seem, I don't know if tolerable is the right word, but, like, we're more familiar with it. I mean? Like, John F. Kennedy was assassinated. Abraham Lincoln was assassinated because they were presidents. They were very powerful people. This one is not.
Well, I mean, they call it assassination, though, right? That
It
has
is
been
an assassination.
Yeah, right. So it is in that same level as far as
Right.
that.
But
right?
I think that's why it affected more people, right? Because, he's not running for office, right? He wasn't president. If
But
he
there's that imagery, like you talked about before, with those two murders of the two state officials or things. Somebody went in their house, killed them, whatever. The publicness of kids around,
Sure.
and the lone shooter, on the crow's nest.
So far, we think, there's.
Well, yeah, we don't know anything. You're right. I mean, they haven't done anything yet as far
No,
as.
I mean, they've done some, but there's starting to be a lot of questions. But I don't want to even get into that. So I think that's one. The second reason why I think this affected more people is precisely because of who Charlie Kirk was. Now, I don't expect you to know anything about the center-right side of the political,
Center right. Okay.
but let's just say that he is very, very far from the most radical on the right. Very far. If anything, he was getting attacked by like Republicans, libertarians, so people on the right for not being hardcore enough.
Yeah. Wasn't there some? I think again. There's so many rumors going around now, but one of the things I read was like that was a theory that this was not taken out by a lib, but more of somebody on the further right than he was, right? And that's troubling as well. I mean,
I haven't seen that theory. I've seen one incredibly irresponsible comment on MSNBC to that extent, but MSNBC. So what are you gonna do? But I think that was the second part of it, was that this is the guy that like I said, his specialty, his shtick was going into college campuses, which are not friendly places to conservatives, and then having these civil debates,
Right.
like come and whatever, let me hear your ideas and I'll give you mine, like having arguments, having debates.
yeah.
Right. And I think it hit a lot of people that's the guy they killed. Right? In other words, like if they taken out, I can't even come up with but there are guys who are debaters who do things who are, pretty hardcore. You know what I mean? Who are pretty out there.
Right.
Like there's another young commentator named Nick Fuentes, whose name you might have heard of, right?
Yeah.
That guy was like banned off of everything. He was canceled like from everything. If he had been taken out, I think a lot of people like, I mean, it's still terrible, right? It's still killing somebody for what they're saying. But there's an aspect of like, but that dude was pretty inflammatory. That dude was pretty fiery. Or, I don't know, Ben Shapiro even, right? Like
Tucker Carlson.
Candace Owens.
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
You get what I'm saying? Or if you want to go to the left, maybe it's the Rachel Maddow or Cenk Uyghur. You know what I mean? Like some of these guys. Instead of like the most moderate, most sort of civil, most like let's talk about it guy.
Right.
And that's what they killed. So I think that it's those two things, right? Immediately. But then I now begin to think that the bigger shockwave is what has happened since he was killed, right? With apparently huge segments of the population just celebrating it, thinking that it's great that, that a young father lost his life, right, over his ideas, including in our industry, right? And, last week, I was peripherally involved with some of that. And I think we're starting to hear more and more of some of the consequences of people who just went out there and was just like, fuck Charlie Kirk, glad he's dead, whatever, Nazi scumbag, whatever it is that there are these horrible things that people are saying. And that's kind of the early stage.
Is that surprising to you, though? Really? Is it that surprising in this kind of environment we have?
That's a really good question because I
look at like on Twitter, and the hate people have for AOC and the names that they call her, and I mean, and it's on both sides to me. It's like I just don't know. It's sad, but it's not shocking to me of like these people that are celebrating the death or even more wantonly chanting for the death of some of their opponents, right? And it's ugly.
Correct. That's just wrong. I don't know.
Yeah. But I mean, it's not like to me. You said you were shocked. You were shocked that people are doing that. I'm like, well, that's just fucking. That's the way it is right now.
The right has never called for killing AOC. Sure, they insult her. They call her names. You barista.
Well, I mean, hang Mike Pence. I mean, that's something. Hang Mike Pence doesn't count.
Who is saying that?
I mean, is that a phrase that's unfamiliar to you?
So this is like one of the issues, right?
Yeah.
That.
And you don't think we could go on Twitter right now and do a search for like "kill AOC" wouldn't come up with like a million freaking like?
No, I don't think so. And more importantly, the issue is you want to do this like both sides thing. It's just not both sides. It's just simply not, right? And there are a couple of ways in which that's not. But let me try and answer the question about like, did it surprise me? I think for me, and I'm speaking about the specific issue in our industry, it wouldn't surprise me. No, it would still surprise me. It would be heartbreaking to have some whack job 20-year-old, Antifa member doing that, right? What got me was the case I just saw and was like, this is nonsense, is a guy by the name of Mark Sivek, or Sivek, I think is his name, right? Who's like older than me, I think. He's probably in his 60s. He's a realtor. He's been a broker for 25 years here in Las Vegas, who was recently elected to the board of directors of Las Vegas Realtors, where you recently spoke, right?
Yeah.
That dude was probably in the room, right? So he is a leader of the Las Vegas Realtors who's not some young, crazy ideologue. And that guy was saying that. That shocked me. That I did not expect. Right? Like I said, we're not talking to some random Antifa activist, like who's getting paid to do whatever like we're not talking about absolute crazies. We're talking about somebody who's respected enough to run for and be elected to the board of directors of one of the largest local realtor associations in the country. And that guy felt that way. And had zero concern about putting it out there publicly on Facebook. Insulting, by the way, one of his own members in doing so. That blew my mind. that blew my mind. And that's why I said, no, we can't have this. We cannot have this, right?
Right.
Because from my perspective, man, for all I know, like we've done, we did a Vegas realtor event together a couple of years back. That dude might have been the audience, right? And if I were murdered, he would be cheering. He would be celebrating. That fucking Rob Hahn got what's coming to him, that fascist pig. I cannot share the world with that guy. I can't be in the same room with that guy. Do you know what I mean? Like, that was kind of a breaking point. One of these, like, really, I don't know what to call it, moment of clarity, right?
Right. So can I have not formed this in my head, but let me pull a string here, right?
Yeah.
And again,
we're playing it by year like we normally do.
And I don't. I'm not saying I believe it, but in the spirit of like, let me go back and forth here, right? So some of the stuff that just gets me crazy is I have family members, right? We all have family members that maybe are attuned to our political beliefs, and some are not, right? And some of it's religious beliefs and are not, right? And there may be things of like, I have to kind of put up with people that think that because my nephew is gay, he's going to fucking hell and burning in hell. And that to me is just like, I gotta like in my head, like, you don't really believe that to wish that that's what you're wishing upon, or you feel is going to happen, that I kind of X that out and like, and I still have a relationship with them. Right. But it's still in some part of me, like, it bugs the shit out of me. And it's like, but if that's their religion, and that's, I guess that's off, you can't talk about it. But it's off. You can't really call somebody out there because it's religion, right? In a sense, right? So there's this,
you could do whatever you want.
Yeah, okay, but I mean, there's some sort of thing there, right? I mean, so you were pretty big into defending people, this whole thing about free speech with NAR, right? And I don't know exactly. I knew that there were some heinous things said. I don't think somebody said it, saying "Yay, somebody got assassinated." I don't think it was that brutal.
Do you want me to read what he wrote? Do you want me to read it?
No, I'm talking about I'm talking not about the civic guy, but these previous guys that got hammered by NAR, right?
Yeah.
And I believe they were on a religious thing, right? It wasn't really political stuff, right?
Two of them were pastors. The other two, I think religion played a role, but I'm going to say one of the four that I've really looked at was more like a patriotism thing. I don't know if religion was a big part of his motivation. But yeah, but it's an interesting thing. Like,
so to me, like, this is heinous, right? But there's other people that could maybe make an argument to me. I'm not making this argument, by the way, right?
Yeah. Or
well, this guy wishes,
baby.
This guy is, let's say it's their nephew or something. He's telling me that my nephew is going to hell. How can he be allowed to do that? Mm-hmm. How can he be allowed to tell, to make these heinous things about my family member? Mm-hmm. And you're saying absolutely he can say anything he wants. I mean, right. NAR shouldn't codify or cull whatever he's saying. Let him say what he say. So, but there's a bright line you want to make here, right?
It's not that bright a line. Well, okay, fine. If you want to,
maybe it is not a bright line. Maybe that's the point. Is it a bright line? I don't know.
So what's interesting is one of the.
And again, I'm just spitballing this. There's probably something that you can make in the comments. Well, Greg, A, B, C. I'm like, no, you're right, dude. I'm just fucking having a conversation here. Right. This episode is brought to you by our sponsor, Cotality. CoreLogic is now Cotality. Same trusted technology and data, just with a new name that reflects their mission to unify property professionals, strengthen industry relationships, and drive innovation globally. Cotality powers tools you already know and love, like Matrix, the gold standard for MLS systems. There's one home for agents who want to give their clients a more personalized collaboration experience. MLS Touch keeps you connected to the MLS no matter where you are. Realist gives you the insights to stand out as the local expert and tools to fill your funnel with high-value leads. The new One Homeowner platform keeps you top of mind and delivers value long after the deal is done. Learn more at Cotality.com. Our thanks to Cotality for sponsoring Industry Relations.
No, so a couple things. Number one of the guys, one of the fucking scumbags, like responded to my post about Mark Sivak, raising the whole, 10-5, and aren't you a big proponent of this, that, whatever fucking nonsense, right? And I'm saying
Okay,
it's
so
fucking
this was an argument somebody else
made. And I'm like, this is fucking nonsense on so many levels, right? My initial emotional reaction was, this motherfucker celebrated the murder of a young father. He didn't make some religious claim. He didn't say, well, if you do that, that's sinful lifestyle, and none of that, right? Not even the most hateful Christian shit that supposedly people have said, right? This guy literally celebrated the on-camera, live execution, like murder of a young man in front of his family, in front of his little kids. That's one. Two, what I pointed out was, I didn't say he should be expelled from realtors. I didn't say let's bring an ethics charge against this man. What I said was, hey, Las Vegas realtors, you might want to take a look at this. And does he represent your organization? Because again, let me put it differently. If Brandon Huber, whose crime, the pastor in Montana, was sending a politely worded letter saying, hey, what you guys are doing with this lunch program and including gay literature in it is against our church's beliefs. We are going to stop doing that with you, right? No, you're going to hell. None of this, none of that. We don't want to participate in that with you, okay? And for that, he was brought up on 10-5 charges and lost his realtor status and access to the MLS, okay? I didn't call for Mark Sivak to lose realtor status and lose access to the MLS. What I said was, does he represent you? Because he's on the board of fucking directors. Okay.
Right.
You have freedom of speech. And I will defend Mark Sivak's freedom to say whatever vile scumbag thing he wants to say. Okay? I don't think that means you have the right to be a board of directors member, though. Right? Like, there's a world of difference between that, in my opinion. Okay? But again, it's because whoever was responding doesn't give a fuck. And I'm sitting here like, so you would probably be real happy to see me dead too, just because we disagree. And who knows, maybe it's over important political things like, gay rights or whatever, right? That some of these people are like, it's existential. I don't know. Maybe this guy would like to see me dead because I criticized NAR, right? And I'm saying there's something psychotic about that person, right? And like we kind of mentioned at the beginning, you and I disagree on a lot. We have yelled at each other a lot.
Well, this guy probably wouldn't have a gun if he listened to me.
Yeah,
right? So problem solved.
But as we talk about, this is how friends are supposed to argue. We're supposed to debate. We're supposed to do those things. And, most of the time you're wrong. And once in a while I'm wrong. We get that.
Flip that, everybody.
You know what I mean? But at least it's because we're talking, we're debating. Okay? Then bad shit don't happen. That's how our society is supposed to work. Right? I don't care what the issue is. Clear cooperation policy, whatever contentious issue, right? Gay marriage or trans rights, whatever it is. We're supposed to talk, right?
Yeah.
And not trying to convince each other necessarily. That's not even about that. It's just so we understand kind of what the issues are, where the ideas are coming from, what the concerns are, and maybe we could find some compromise. Maybe we can't, right? But even if we can't, the response can't be, cool, I'm going to get a rifle and shoot you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just so unacceptable. It is so unacceptable. And what is completely blowing my mind now, on Monday, 9/15, okay, Lee Brown posted something on Twitter, which I've retweeted and have since sort of kept up. When George Floyd happened, NAR released a statement, I think within the day.
Okay.
And there's a long list of real estate companies, organizations, state associations, local associations, MLSs, companies, Zillow, Redfin, all these brokerage companies that immediately issued statements about George Floyd and how horrible it is and how they're committing to racial justice, all this stuff. Okay. My thing was, where's your statement about the killing of Charlie Kirk, right? The condemnation of murder, and made at some sort of appeal for let's stop hate. Do you know what I mean? Whatever it is, where's your statement?
Okay. Let me pull a string on that again.
Yeah.
It just popped in my head. I don't know. I don't know where this is going to go, but let me see if I can dissect that a bit. So, I mean, do you think this performative statements by these corporations were? I can't imagine you thought that was a good idea for them.
I didn't then, but
yeah. Hold on.
Right. But I do now.
Okay, yeah, that's very interesting, right? So,
because
I think I remember, it's like, why do they make these? They're performative. They don't mean anything. Why do we have to listen to these things? These guys are corporations. They don't mean anything. You know, why are they doing these things, right? So there's that, right? So it's like one argument would be, well, Rob, you hated that before. Why do you want them to do that again? But now you're saying you changed your mind. I get that.
No,
okay.
I don't. No, I'm not. Hold on. Time out.
Okay.
No, I'm not saying I changed my mind. I'm saying at this point, you have to do it for consistency and balance.
Okay. You still think it's a stupid idea, though?
I still think performative bullshit statements are a stupid idea. But in the light of what just happened, the fact that they're not even making statements to condemn murder and the celebration of murder is sending a very clear signal by their silence.
Right. Okay.
Now, after they issued the statement, okay, wait 3 months, wait 30 days, and then say, hey, going forward, as a policy, our company or organizations, we're not going to make any statements. We're not going to take any sort of stance on anything that does not affect the housing market or the real estate industry. If you want to do that, fine, go for it. You cannot do that, though, today, given the example that you have set. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you have to at least restore some level of balance before you do the, hey, we're just not going to get involved bullshit. Yeah. Sorry, that excuse is not going to fly.
Okay, so, I mean, I understand your point, what you're making.
Do it one time and then stop doing it ever again.
Right. Oh, understood. Okay. Second thing.
Yeah.
Was George Floyd in the arena?
What do you mean? Was George Floyd assassinated?
Was he in the arena?
What do you mean by no? What do you mean by arena? Political?
Well, I mean, we talked about before about
but
hold on. I mean, just follow again. I'm fucking just follow my thread here. And
okay.
Please tear me apart. Okay. Follow my thread here, right? As we talked about Charlie Kirk, Trump, these two, state representatives that were murdered. Those were, as we talked about, were in the arena, right? Was George Floyd in the arena?
No.
What George Floyd was murdered, however you want to put it, or he's in jail, right? I mean, he got convicted or he did a plea, and he was a cop. He was a representative of the government, right? I think that was a bit of the shock. A person of authority in the government murdered this black man, right? And that's, I think, is that not a little bit different than the assassination of a political figure like Charlie Kirk?
I'm not sure the point you're trying to make.
Well, I mean, what rises to the level of that you think that why are those two things mirrored?
They're not mirrored.
Well, in the sense that you think that these other companies should be issuing statements, you want them to mirror the George Floyd statements with a statement with Charlie Kirk.
Yes. So it's not that the two situations are mirrored, right? They're not the same people. It's not the same thing, right? What I'm saying is institutions in real estate have gone out of their way to do this performative bullshit, whatever statement back in 2020, right? Over something that had nothing to do with real estate. Okay? And you and I both know it's because then, as now, the culture is dominated by this like left ideology, right? So everyone felt like, well, this is the right thing to do, and blah blah blah. Let's use our platform to this, that, and the other thing, right? Well,
more and more, I think it's not dominated by the left. I think it's more dominated by the right. But okay.
I mean, you're insane. I mean, that's just factually wrong. Like, look at every academia.
I'll just open Twitter right now and I'll tell you, bro, it's fucking
one platform.
It's crazy.
Right. That only happened because Elon Musk bought it. Before then, people were getting banned off that platform for being conservative. So let's
I think every major tech guy's more conservative now. I mean, I think there's it's crazy.
The narrative, weird narrative coming from the left side is just insane. But we're just gonna ignore Bill Gates. We're just gonna ignore Reid Hoffman. We're just gonna ignore those guys, right?
Like
and just
the whole
point at Peter Thiel.
podcast.
Oh my God, Peter Thiel! Right. So in any event, my point is, you went out of your way into this performative thing back then, okay? Because they thought, well, this is whatever popular. This is what we got to do. But quite frankly, I think it's because internally that entire bureaucracy, everyone that kind of worked in it was sort of captured by the left because that's what they do to institutions. I'm like, that's cool. Here's a situation where, quite frankly, this is not a left versus right issue. I refuse to believe that. Okay? Because you're on the left. Left of me anyway. But you know what I mean? Like, you're a Democrat,
I'm not a Democrat. I'm independent.
Okay, fine. You're independent, but you're more center-left.
Yeah.
Do you have any problems condemning murder of a 31-year-old man for what he said?
Of course not.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and I have a lot of friends who are Democrats and liberals. Okay, I really do. Not one of them is out there cheering, "Yay, we got him." Right? None of them is out there celebrating a fucking murder.
Yeah. I mean, if there are people doing out there and there are people that are celebrating, they're fucking whack jobs, man.
They're whack jobs.
Just like the other one. But I don't think that represents the majority.
I'm not saying it does.
Okay.
That's my point. I'm not saying it does.
Again, okay? Listening to you talk, I don't even think you just said it again. It's performative. I don't know why we have to do a tit for tat. If it's wrong, don't do it again. Right? I don't know if it's going to make. If you think it's performative, if you think it's whatever, I don't know why these other things didn't raise the bar to what they should have talked about either, right? I mean, if it's a wrong thing to do, just don't do it.
Fine.
Why be performative? I mean,
because it's awfully convenient, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know.
And like I said, what I would want NAR and all these companies to do is issue a statement tomorrow, clearly condemning this. Wait 30 days, and then go, hey, everybody, we are no longer going to do any statements about anything that is not directly about our little real estate, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, you want to do that? Fine. You do not get to, though, 5 years after going completely overboard with George Floyd, right, to do nothing now. Okay. And they are completely misreading the situation because, like I said, I do not think just I've seen some stats like 40% of Democrats are celebrating. I just don't believe it. I don't buy it.
That's crazy.
I don't buy it. I think it's a small, tiny, psychopathic sickos who are doing this. And I think the vast majority of people who disagree with me on like everything, they disagree with me on foreign policy, domestic policy, taxes, immigration, you know what I mean? Like, and they think I'm completely wrong. Or maybe they think I'm even immoral for whatever, okay? I don't think they saw that a man get murdered and went, yay, we got him. I just don't believe it, right? Which means it's even cost-free for these companies, institutions to issue one of those corporate, bland performance
things that mean nothing. Yeah.
Correct. We condemn the murder of blah, blah, blah. We must come together and unify to blah, blah.
Thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and prayers. Fucking release one of those. Okay?
Okay.
And then 30 days later, right? Come out and go, hey, everybody, we're a real estate company. We're not interested in these political, social issues. right? We're going to stop going forward. Okay. Thing is, they're trying to do that now, and I'm saying that looks like bias. That let me put it simply: if NAR does not do something, some performative statement, because it could be performative, right? It probably still meaningful in signaling and communicating to your membership where you stand. If they fail to do this, and I'm a conservative realtor, how in the world do I want to still belong to the organization that, for all I know, wants to see me dead? Because they won't condemn murder, and they won't condemn the celebration of murder. How do you do that when an effing board member at a local realtor association is out there celebrating?
I don't know how by doing a performative statement is going to
because
make people safer.
Communication of expectations is important, right? I'm not saying NAR should come out and revoke realtor membership from CIVEC. Like, you don't have the rules for that. 10.5 doesn't allow for it. This wasn't a real estate context, right? But at least they could come out and say, what that guy said was terrible. We don't agree with him.
I think Vegas has said that, right?
Vegas has. NAR has not.
Right.
Nevada Realtors has not.
Right.
Realty One Group has. They fired him. Okay? And what I'm saying is, at some point within the industry, we have to kind of come to terms with this. People are sitting out there saying, well, we just don't want to get involved in political charged environment. Y'all didn't have that problem in 2020. Right? George Floyd was not a slam dunk, everybody agreed. Even today, there are a lot of folks, and I'm one of them, that thinks like that guy might have OD'd. It might not have been murder, right? There's too many questions around that trial.
Oh, there's going to be conspiracy theories around this Charlie Kirk thing too, right? I mean,
there's already conspiracy.
Yeah, so it's like
right.
No matter what's going to happen, people are going to have doubt on listening to anybody's fucking theory on anything.
But even with all that taken into account, right? My point is, I didn't have a major problem with companies coming out and saying this is horrible, right? Because the country's attention was at that thing. Later, we learned that this guy is not a good guy, and he might have just died from an OD, right? That's later. At the moment when the country's upset, because when I first saw that video, I was like, holy shit, that's really bad. Like, what the fuck? This cop kneeling on the neck of and we all have that reaction. Cool. The country just saw a young father get shot through the neck in front of his wife and children. The fact that you cannot make a statement condemning that and condemning the celebration and justification of that is a major, major fucking moral failing. Yeah. And it's a communications failing. And I think those companies and those organizations should think again.
Yeah, I think, to me, maybe part of what some of my thought process is on this, and it'll sound extremely cynical, but I think I'm right on this, is that again, there was another school shooting that happened the same day. This isn't going to mean anything in 45 days.
You're nuts.
I'm not. I think this country is so desensitized to all the things that we were talking about before. You can talk about Trump getting shot or almost getting shot, right? And the man killed behind him. You can talk about January 6th. You can talk about these other guys, the state representative that were murdered. I mean, it's just, this goes on and on and on in this country. And we just say thoughts and prayers. And then 45 days later, it's just on to the next travesty that happens. I don't want this to be, but I mean,
sure. We'll revisit this, Greg. All I can tell you is I'm about to try and publish my sort of written thoughts about this. I just couldn't get to it, right after. Right, I would just sort my own head out. But this feels like a second tipping point of my life for me. Mm-hmm. My first tipping point was 9/11. Right, and again, you could say all you want. Look, terror attacks have been going around everywhere. There are all these. Remember the Beslan school attack when elementary school kids were shot up by terrorists. Bombings here, bombings there. Terror attacks.
There was just that one school shooting where that trans guy killed the kids in the Catholic school.
All that,
all this stuff is just terrible.
Keep it to 9/11. I'm saying Islamic terrorism has been around for decades, and we all knew about it, right? So why did 9/11 hit you so much? Well, 2,977 Americans died. That's one.
That's a
But
big
the other, right? What other one though was there's something about that event that made all of us just kind of feel like, holy shit, the world just changed.
Well, yeah, they crashed into Twin Towers. They went for the White House. They went for the Pentagon. I mean, the scale of that was just so enormous that
But it wasn't.
crazy.
It was 4 airplanes.
Yeah, but I mean, the coordinated attack of that, it was like just,
I know. So what I'm saying is, because I still remember that morning watching TV because I was sick. You know, people have read my story. I was supposed to be on Windows on the World, watching TV, and the first plane had already crashed. Everyone's like, you know, oh, what a terrible accident. How could something like this happen? These planes have all this safety devices, blah, blah, blah. And as we are talking about this terrible accident, we see the second plane hit. And I don't know if you saw it like live, you know, as it was happening, right? But anybody who's listening to this who was alive and a grown up and saw that happening remembers this like tremendous, like your heart just drops.
anxiety. Yeah.
It's not even anxiety. This, your heart drops and you just have this feeling, instant, visceral feeling, the world just changed. And we can't.
And you have the same feeling right now?
I had the same feeling when I saw blood squirt out of Charlie's neck.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
My bet is this is a second tipping point. Something has changed. The world is different. You know, it's just like I divide the world between like pre 9/11 and post 9/11, right? Pre 9/11, you didn't have to take your shoes off getting on an airplane. You could bring bottles of water onto.
I think you don't have to now. I think Trump reversed that, which.
No, I think he wants to. He wants to make the airlines do it, not the TSA, but still, right? But my point is, it's in a similar way. I think we're going to look back and go, there was the pre-9/10 world and the post-9/10 world. And my only hope is that the post-9, like the reaction is not worse than problem, if that makes sense, right? Because on 9/11, that got us into what? It got us into 20 years of war in the Middle East, fucking Afghanistan and Iraq, you know?
Yeah.
And trillions of dollars wasted and thousands of millions, if you include the enemy, if you will. Like, I hope we don't get that destructive, but the world changed.
So are you saying, do you think that this, and you use this comparison in the beginning, and I understand maybe because of the public nature and the method, but are you saying that Charlie Kirk would be on the same level historically as like a Martin Luther King?
I don't know if I could. I mean, I'm not equating the two people. My point is,
because I mean that to me, I mean MLK being assassinated, that's taught in history books, and you know this 9/11 is taught in history books.
Knows?
Is this in your head? This is going to be taught in history books?
I'm not sure. My point though is, it's the last sort of significant public figure that I could remember being assassinated, who was not president or running for president. He was just a civil rights leader, right? And I don't think anyone's going to deny that Martin Luther King was not murdered because of some crime he committed, right? He wasn't killed because he was running for office. He was killed because of his ideas, of words coming out of his mouth. The fact that he's out there preaching and advocating for equality. That's why people killed him.
Yeah, to me, this feels more like, and why I'm not, like I said, I mean, this is a sad kind of thing, right? But
it's tragic.
Who was the journalist that was beheaded?
Daniel Pearl.
This is kind of, to me, again, that this is what mostly it feels like to me, because that's just a heinous. Now that was done by foreign things, but on a news level, that's why I'm so cynical about the way American treats these things now, is that it's just on to the next one, right? I mean,
we'll see. We'll see. That's all I can say. I'm just telling you, but the reason why I felt like I'm not alone, right? Because last few days, I mean, I've been.
I remember how horrible I felt, weeks after the George Floyd thing was, right? I mean, I just thought that was, just a horrible thing that happened. And you had doubts about your country and you had doubts about this and that. I mean,
sure. And but I suppose you could kind of see it reflected in social media.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, like, after 9/10, look at social media, there's a lot of people who are saying the same thing. And we're all asking the same question. I don't know the man. You know what I mean? I don't know
Yeah.
Charlie Kirk. Like, I'm not a fan. I don't watch his shit. Like, I'm not going to his events. So it's a stranger.
Yeah.
So why does this stranger's killing hit me so hard? I'm not the only one who's been asked that question.
Yeah.
Millions of Americans have been asked that question. And millions of Americans have now started to take action. What we saw with Cyvek is just one tiny, tiny example of it. You know, I mean, since that to when we're recording this, we've already seen the hundreds of people who've been fired for their jobs.
Yeah.
Hundreds of them, right? And that is not the end. Because
Do you think that the reason why this is that is so traumatic is that this event has made us look in the mirror, and that the society is that. I mean, there's a guy out there fucking killing people in front of his family for these ideas. I mean, he's a psychopath. I mean, you have to be a psychopath to fucking murder somebody.
Right.
So he's mentally ill, obviously, but that's what that people are now kind of realizing. Fuck, man, is this what we're about? I don't know why they don't do that on, but you know they haven't.
Right.
Don't they have the reflections on when 2 6-year-old kids in church are killed? When 15 kids are killed in the last school shooting? I mean, I don't know why they don't have those reflections then either, too. But to me, this is he's a big figure out there that's a known figure has made this a bit on that. But we should be we've been looking in the mirror a long time, and we still haven't made. I don't think a lot of change. It's only getting worse, it seems like.
possibly. So maybe that's what it is. You know, what people are feeling was dread.
Yeah.
Like, oh, here we go.
Here's what this is what we've become, right?
Maybe, maybe it's that. Maybe it's, I don't know what it is, right? But here's what I'll say. The people who are listening to us right now, I'm willing to bet you a huge, huge number of them. I'm not saying they agree with me. I'm saying they feel the same way as I do about this death hit me hard, and I don't know why. This killing seems really, really significant, and I don't know why. I just know that it feels significant, right? There are millions of people who are saying that and questioning, why is that? Why is that? And you're getting, some answers, right? Some dumb answers, some reasonable answers, whatever. But we're getting some answers. Well, here's why, here's why, here's why. Okay, maybe we could go back and rationally think through the reasons and come up with some. I'm just saying the fact of this being a tipping point, to me, is not debatable. To your point, we'll find out in 45 days, right? If the world changed because of this, then I think we'll all agree, that was a tipping point. If it doesn't, if 30 days from now, 45 days from now, we're talking about the next thing and, we moved on, then that's what it is, right? But the one thing that I'm trying to draw implications for the industry, right? Because there's not a whole lot other than don't be a psychopath and run for office. Don't run for the board of directors, I suppose. But I think we should be thinking about how does the nation look at us, right? One of the things that is really obvious that the divide is so severe. Do you know what I mean? People just, they won't even talk about it. You and I will engage in our debates on, from kind of slightly political angles left and right, and I'll make jokes about California, and you'll make jokes about guns or whatever, and we could have real substantive disagreements, but at the end of the day, we're still friends. Do you know what I mean? We could still hang out. I'm pretty sure you would not be happy if I got murdered. I know I would be crushed if you did. It's one of those things. How do we get back to that? Because I don't think that exists within our industry right now. I don't think realtors getting together in a local associations genuinely consider themselves part of this community. I think there's too much division within our own ranks. people who hate, like absolutely hate each other and want to see each other dead. That we got to somehow eliminate. We got to get rid of that somehow.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the ship has sailed. We have all these news medias feeding us what we want to hear. We tune into that.
Yep.
I mean, I was just looking at this. Fletcher Merkel, 8 years old. Harper Mosky, 10 years old. Killed by a shooter a month ago, right? I didn't know their names before. Mm-hmm. And I mean, an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
This is murdered.
Yeah. It's sick.
by gunmen. I mean, again, I'm a bit like, I didn't know that. I knew of that happening. I didn't know their names. Why does it seem a less of a thing that I didn't know their names, but I know Charlie Kirk's name? What is a bigger tragedy? I mean, all this shit is a tragedy.
Yeah, but I get it, Greg, but that's a bit of a red herring. I mean, I can't remember the number. Like 50 people got murdered in Chicago last month. You don't know any of their names,
Right?
and nor do I. Quite frankly, nor do I care. Right? It's one of those. Well, it's big city, Chicago, lots of crime, gang violence. Like it's one of those, right?
Well, it's a person with a gun. Yeah.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I don't think anybody who's like, 50 people got murdered in Chicago and go, great, and celebrate that.
Yeah.
No sane person does that.
Yeah.
Right? So, I don't know. I think the line I'm thinking of is like, it's a pretty low bar. It's a pretty low bar to be like, let's not be happy somebody lost his life, over a political difference. Let's be happy about that.
Do you think if AOC got murdered, that there wouldn't be at least an equal amount of crazies on Twitter or wherever else celebrating that too, on the right?
Who knows? It's a counterfactual. But as we're starting to learn, this happens because the left has been demonizing conservatives.
And the opposite is also true,
It's
right?
simply not true. What has the right called AOC? They didn't call her fascist. They didn't call her Nazi.
Are you kidding me?
I'm completely serious.
Google that shit.
Oh, you commie.
I'm sure you can find a bunch of stuff calling her that and worse.
That's number one. Number two, it wasn't coming from like important institutions of power. Right? I mean, again, you could try and do both sides all you want. It's just not true, and the stats prove it.
Yeah, I don't know what stats. I mean, if you can give me some stats, I'd look at those.
The latest one I saw was that I think it's 24% of Democrats think it's okay to use political violence. 3% of Republicans.
Yeah, let's put that in the show notes.
In fact, I think J.D. Vance just gave a speech about this. Right? And again, I know people are right it all because it's Vance and he's on the right, whatever. I'm like, okay, but then fine, let's do like some sort of peace treaty. How about we don't use any of this rhetoric on both sides? Like Republicans won't have any problem dropping it because they haven't been doing it.
Yeah, I disagree with. Right?
Get MSNBC to stop. Like, how often they're going to go calling Trump a fascist?
Yeah.
Right. So again, I don't want to get into, this isn't about like some partisan, I'm a fucking anarcho-capitalist libertarian. I don't give a shit about either party.
Nihilist. I thought you were a nihilist too.
Drop that. I'm an anarcho-capitalist, but in the absence of that, I'll take a monarchy. But that's
right.
a whole
monarchist.
Yeah,
that was the thing. Yeah.
A monarchist, not
All right, boys and girls, let's
try and wrap up. It's like I said, this is not an episode I really wanted to do. Right.
We'll check it. I mean, I'm legitimately, I hope this doesn't happen in a sense. I hope that this is the seminal moment you talked about, and in 45 days or 60 days, something happens on a positive thing here. But I think this is just going to be same as it ever was, baby. Same as it ever was. Thoughts and prayers, and we're on to the next thing.
It can't. It won't. It really won't.
It will.
Greg, I'll talk to you after the show. It won't. So here's my hope. My hope is I think the good people on the left and good people on the right, maybe this is the wake-up call that says, hey, let's back off the fucking rhetoric. Let's back off the hate, right? And I put something on Twitter that really struck me. It was this this leftist, this progressive woman. I don't know who she is, right? On TikTok. And she's like, I'm a progressive. I'm all about whatever the issues are. She's like, down the line. And even she's like, but you don't kill a man, over that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I hate everything about Trump's policies or whatever, but you don't celebrate murder over that.
Yeah.
And my thing was, that person is not my enemy. That person's my neighbor. That person's a fellow American. We can have disagreements. You know what I mean? And we could argue vociferously about immigration rights or whatever, right? But at the end of the day, like, she's an American, I'm an American, like, we share a country, right? We can talk and debate and then come to some sort of resolution, right? It's the people who are like, we got him. Y'all fuckers are ghouls. And you are evil. You're anti-civilizational. We can't stand together against that. Then things are not great, right? Yeah. And so to your point, here's what I hope. 45 days, 60 days from now, what I'm hoping is that the good people on the left start purging the ranks of these ghouls. Because you are not welcome here either.
I think there's some purging to be done on both sides for sure.
And sure, fine, purge both sides. But let's get back. We need to somehow figure out a way, just like you and I do. We argue and debate and do all that, and still at the end they'd be like, "You're an American, I'm an American. Let's figure out a way to live together." We have to, right? We have to.
And it's a curse for me to always be right. So
well, once you leave the left, maybe you could start being right for once. Anyway, let's leave it there. Thanks everybody for indulging us. Like I said, we'll try and get back to just real estate content, next week, especially after Blueprint. But given what the country is going through, what we're all talking about, we felt like we had to address it. There's nothing else that we could have done. So appreciate y'all. We'd love your opinions on this.